Today we are going to study and discuss a very important skill which is called reading skill or reading for comprehension. You know that as we teachers, we don't only give a lecture, but we try to do what? We try to involve our students in the learning process. This is the important thing. Because in any learning process, students are likely to remember something in the future if they have taken an active part in the learning process. So before we go on to discuss this skill, I want you to have a look at these questions first and try to find the answers to these questions. Question number 1. Think about your school days. How much did you enjoy reading lessons and why? What was the role of the teacher in these lessons? I know that my teachers used to read the text for us, line by line, and tries to translate each line into our mother tongue, into Arabic. And he tries to translate each word into Arabic. This is the thing that our teachers used to do. Was it a boring method or an interesting one? What do you think? I mean, if the teacher reads the text for you and translate each line for you, translate each word for you, then he asks some students to read the text one by one. Was it interesting or boring, do you think? Of course it is a boring one, because the students are not involved in the lesson. Just read and read and read. As we know, what's the purpose behind the reading text in our books? Are they for reading? Are they for the sake of pronunciation? No. The reading texts in our books are there for the purpose of comprehension. For the purpose of comprehension. So the students should be involved in order to understand the text. Now, let's go to the second point. Is reading allowed? Is reading allowed? A reading lesson? What do you think? No. If the purpose of these texts is comprehension, and this is what it is, the student should not ask to read the text. So, keep this in your mind, please. If your purpose behind reading the text is comprehension, don't ask your students to read aloud. It will be useless. Now, point number 3. Is a reading lesson going to be boring? What can prevent potential boredom? I mean, the text. When can the text become boring? When? If it is dull, if it is irrelevant, if it is very difficult for our students to read. It becomes what? It becomes boring. If it is a very difficult one, it does not suit their level, it will be boring, of course. Point number 5. Can you see it? Number 5. It says in an English as a second language lesson, what do you think a reading lesson might consist of? In any reading lesson, you should do what? You should stage your lesson. You should arrange your lesson in stages. For example, you start with stage 1. For example, you have a reading text. You stage your lesson in order to be successful. You start with stage 1. What do you think stage 1 will be? Well, there are 3 phases for every reading and listening. First, pre-reading، يعني ما قبل القراءة. Second, while reading، أثناء القراءة. Third, post-reading، ما بعد القراءة. Pre-reading, before you read, while you read, post-reading, after you read. So what are you going to do in every stage? Let's take pre-reading, ما قبل القراءة. You have to do something which is called brainstorming. Brainstorming, if we translate it into Arabic, means تهيئة الطلاب للدرس. ربط هذا الدرس بواقع الطالب. إذا نبدأ بستيج 1 في مرحلة pre-reading. Stage 1 vocabulary. First of all, you start to teach the essential the students are going to encounter in the passage, in the text. So first, teach the essential words. That means you don't have to read all the words for the students. I mean, the students don't have to know the meaning of every word in the text, just the essential words. What do we mean by essential words? Just those words which are going to be used in order to do the tasks. So first, you start with the essential words. This is stage 1. Stage 2. You must do what in this stage? Build you have to build interest in the students in order to make them want to read the text. And this is very important one. You must arouse the interest of the students. You must make them to read the text, either by asking them some WH questions about the topic of the passage, or do some guessing exercises to guess what the text is going to be about. Guessing starts from the title of the text. They look at the title and they try to guess what the text is going to be about. Then from some words in the text, they pick out some words in the text and they try to guess what the text is going to be about. Or pictures. If the text is accompanied by pictures, the students must see these pictures and try to guess what the text is going to be about. So guessing starts from the title, from the important words of the text, from the pictures accompanying this text. We do all these in the pre-reading stage. In the pre-reading stage. We let them know the essential words and we build interest in the students in the text they are going to read. Do some guessing by using the title, the pictures, and some words. These all happen in this stage, in the pre-reading stage. Then the 6th point, give task before, after the text. What do you think? Shall we give them tasks before reading or after reading? So some tasks should be given before the text. Some tasks must be given before they read the text. As I said, like the task of guessing, for example. So some tasks should be dealt with before reading the text, in order to prepare the students to the text itself, to make them want to read the text. When you come to this stage, while reading, what should you do? Should you ask the students to read the passage? We start with tasks such as skimming and scanning. So first, you should start with easier tasks. Then you move on to difficult ones. You can start with skimming and scanning tasks. What do we mean by skimming? Sometimes if you are in a hurry, a bus is waiting for you outside your house and you are in a hurry. You have got only 10 seconds to catch the bus. And then you look at the table, you see a newspaper on the table. A headline in the newspaper attracts your attention. How do you read it? You are in a hurry. How do you read it? You read it very quickly. In order to know what's this headline about. How do you read it?
Very quickly.
Very quickly. You don't read the details. What do we call this kind of reading?
Skimming.
Yes, skim reading. It's skimming. Skimming means to read something very quickly without paying attention to the details, only to know the gist. احنا نقول الزبدة. Yeah. So you start with the skimming tasks. And this is, we do a lot in our real life. We do a lot of skimming. What do you mean by scanning? If you want to know the time of your train, when does it leave, when does it depart, you look at the timetable. The timetable is full of what? Times and dates and departures of trains. But you only want to know your train. When does it depart? So what do? You neglect all the information that you don't need. You look for very specific information, and that's the time of the departure of your train. So you pull out this information that you need and you neglect the rest. This is called scanning.